The embers of revival are beginning to glow once again. And tonight, we come together to offer our response in one voice, unwavering, America shall be saved. We are unified in purpose, unified in spirit, fully awakened to the role that we as the body of Christ must fulfill. The tide is turning. We are making a difference. We are winning, but our work has just begun. Revival is here, and it's now time for action. Welcome to FlashPoint Live.
Hey, come on! Get to your feet! This is the land of the free and the home of the what? Home of the what? Are you going to act brave? Come on, let me hear you one more time. Give a big rebel yeah for United States of America. Yeah! Woo! I want to, first of all, thank our good friend Mario Murillo for letting us use his tent. Would you give him a hand? Yeah, stand up, let him know. Thank you, Mario. Amen. It's such a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's wonderful when the body learns how to work with each other. You know, it really is. All right, so I don't know if you guys know it, but you're on the campus of Faith Life Church. Pastor Gary and Drenda Cassie, stand up. There they are. Thank you. You're going to hear from them in just a minute. Listen, we are so impressed by Faith Life Church, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Pastor Gary and Drenda. Please welcome Lance, Hank, Rick, and Mike Lindell. Come on out, gentlemen.
Woo! It's good to see. Woo!
Sit down. All right, so we start this off every FlashPoint Live event if you've never been one. First of all, before we get started, if you've been to another FlashPoint Live event, I want to see your hand. Can you raise your hand? Look at that. Yeah. But a bunch of you never been, so welcome. All right, so what we do is we usually, go around the horn here for one time and give everybody one comment to make to get things started, so I'll let you go first. Lance Walnut.
It's always a prophetic timing when we meet. I want to point that out.
It is.
So, well, in the atmosphere now, you guys will find out that President Trump got his indictment. I think news came into him regarding the box hoax that's going on with his mail. And we're at the timing right now to be able to prophetically speak into, pray, and mobilize a response from the body of Christ from a governing state like Ohio, which is important. So I just want to say, we're already on schedule, and God's plan is literally being unfolded before our eyes. We're not late, we're not early, we're on time.
Amen. Rick Green.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I needed this tonight. When you're out there scratching and clawing on the front lines and fighting for freedom in America, there's nothing better than coming in like a good old-fashioned tent revival with a bunch of Bible-believing, freedom-loving, Constitution-carrying great Americans.
Well, hello, Ohio. I got a good Ohio story for you, okay? I think it was the 2022, it could have been the 2020 election. I don't know which one. They all run together right now. And I was up in Ohio, and there was one of your politicians wanting me to endorse him. And I said, and he had made comments 6 months prior about, yeah, the election's fine. There's the machines. There's no problem with the machines, and especially in Ohio. And anyway, I met him. It was a big event out here in Ohio. And I came up to him, and he goes, Mike, I really want your endorsement. He said, I said, well, do you believe that there's a problem that their election was sold? It was the 2020 election. He goes, yeah, absolutely, but not here in Ohio. Donald Trump won. I go, wrong. He said, these machines got to go. We got to fix our election platforms everywhere in our country. And we will. Tonight I will tell you there's a lot of hope that I can tell you about. If you go to Frank's speech in August, we're having the event on August 16th and 17th where we will reveal the plan that's going to help save the country.
Amen. Pastor Ray.
First of all, I want to say it was such an amazing time being able to meet many of you ahead of this event tonight. So, hey, let's give a shout out to those of you we got to shake hands and meet.
Yeah, amen.
It was awesome. Because this is what FlashPoint's about. This is what America's about, we the people. But I just want to say this, and this is very important that you hear this to start off. It looks like sometimes, as you go through Scripture, that things looked impossible. Can you imagine Daniel being thrown into a lion's den? Can you imagine 3 Hebrew boys being thrown into the fire and then they turn it up 7 times hotter? Yet every time when God's involved in something, He makes a way and He brings a redemptive plan that ultimately saves a people and a country. And I say this because even Habakkuk the prophet at one time, in Habakkuk chapter 1, it looked like even the prophet didn't believe that God would intervene. But I'm here to tell you that it's going to get more interesting in our country, even with what Lance just said. But just because they indict, they arrest, just because they play their game, does not mean that they will win the ultimate game. America shall be saved. And in the words of Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 5, God says, I will work a work in your day, though it be told you, you may not ever believe. America is on a comeback, and this too shall pass. As God rises up and gives our country back to us, but we've got to continue to fight.
All right, would you give my friends a hand? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about what happened today. Lance mentioned earlier, and so has everybody else, about President Trump was indicted. I want to read to you what President Trump said on Truth Social. We'll put it on the screen. I can't see it, guys. I can't see it on this screen. There it is over there. Oh, there it is. The corrupt Biden administration has informed my attorneys I've been indicted seemingly over the boxes hoax, even though Joe Biden has 1850 boxes at the University of Delaware, additional boxes in Chinatown, D.C., with even more boxes, University of Pennsylvania, all documents strewn over his garage where he parks his Corvette, which is secured only by a garage door that's paper thin and open much of the time. Page 2, I've been summoned to appear at the federal courthouse in Miami on Tuesday at 3 p.m. I never thought it possible such a thing could happen to a former president of the United States who received far more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country. And is currently leading by far all candidates, both Democrat and Republican, in the polls of the 2024 presidential election. I am an innocent man. Page 3, he's not done yet. This is indeed a dark day for the United States of America. We're a country in serious and rapid decline, but together we will make America great again. So, Rick, I'm going to start with you with that. This is, break this down a little bit for us, because yes, no president's ever had to deal with this. In what he says there in history. However, how is it that Joe Biden can leave the keys with Hunter to the garage and whatever happens there, and yet President Trump is indicted?
You sure you don't want to say, hey, Lance, let me start with Rick?
Yeah, right.
You didn't do that tonight like we did the other night.
Oh, it's coming.
Oh, it's coming. Okay. No, this is what you just read. I mean, it's the very definition of a two-tier justice system. This is exactly what it looks like when the Department of Justice is taken and becomes a political persecution machine for political enemies, not prosecution, but persecution, and ignores the evils of their friends and family. And we now know from today what we heard from Marjorie Taylor Greene and other members of Congress that saw the document on Joe Biden's crime family syndicate, $5 million to multiple Bidens, one of which is if what they say is true, is Joe Biden himself. So let alone the classified documents, the fact that you have someone that as vice president got on television and bragged about the fact that he had withheld $1 billion from Ukraine to force them to do what the company that was paying him $5 million wanted them to do. That is the very definition of corruption. And that's not to say that we don't have corruption in other areas, but when we know about it, we should be going after it. What Donald Trump did is absolutely nothing wrong. He had absolutely all the power to declassify those documents. And so clearly, two-tier justice system. The problem, though, Gene, is that we have put up with this stuff for so long. We've sat on the sidelines and let it happen to people that didn't have as big a name as Donald Trump. And so the machine got stronger and stronger and became more and more Orwellian. And people I know they're wondering, how do we fight back against this? Well, you may not be able to do anything about the DOJ itself. And this may seem like a weird segue, but what we just did in asking you to give of your fortune is what is necessary to preserve a republic. Lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. You can do things in your local community to prevent this from happening by standing up against your local DAs when they get funded by Soros or whoever else. You can do things in your local community to create a hedge, a wall against this kind of thing. For us to do this nationally, when you sow your funds into FlashPoint, what you're doing is giving us the ability to reach more people across the nation and grow the FlashPoint army. That is lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. We can't win without it. So I know you didn't want to necessarily go back to that, but I want people to understand this is more than just it's a church service, we're taking up an offering. We're literally doing what it takes to save a republic. So if you didn't give already, please give. I don't get any of that. That goes to FlashPoint. I'm just saying, FlashPoint needs it, America needs it, and we have let the left. By the way, saw a poll the other day, half of atheists, half of them, 50%, gave to a political candidate in the last year.
Wow.
Could you say that half of Christians gave to FlashPoint or a candidate or good causes? Absolutely not. It's probably 5%. Our side has got to get in the game, got to get in the fight. That's how we'll stop this stuff from happening, and it includes what we do with our dollars. That's
all right. Lance, also today,
Yes, Gene, I'd be glad to answer that. No.
Yes, thank you. All right, so what they're talking about is on the show Tuesday, I kept saying, Lance, but Rick, why don't you answer that? So I'm going to actually go to Lance. So they thought that was really funny that I kept doing that. Okay.
So,
Wait a minute. Wait.
So, Gene, were you going to change the subject
I
on me?
am, actually.
Why would you change the subject?
Lance, I have to.
After all of this.
Yeah, no, it's related. It's related. You can comment on that. I was going to say, Mr. Wallnow, that also today we saw that the FBI caved and presented FD 1023 form. You're not hearing a whole lot about that, which showed that Biden got, I think it's $5 million, was paid $5 million to Burisma. Do you have that graphic? And any moment now to be there. There it is. The FBI will allow all members of our committee to review the Biden bribery record and receive a briefing. We'll continue to follow the facts and ensure accountability of the American people. Well, what it was is that Burisma paid Joe Biden $5 million. That's like a mic drop moment, Lance. I mean,
all right, so now a lot of news is happening today.
Yeah, it is.
And I had not heard Burisma's name. Are you sure that's true, that Burisma's name is connected?
Do you have the other, they don't have that one.
Because
yes.
I thought that they had I thought this had to do with Biden while he was vice president, right?
It is, yes.
So it was a transaction that happened then, I see. Well,
so, if you'll care
plot
to,
thickens,
would you
as they
please
say.
welcome Lance Wallnow as he comments?
Gene,
Okay, thank you. All right,
Gene
now,
talks
Rick.
like me.
Oh, okay.
You ever notice how Gene starts to sound like me after I talk?
I don't know. What is it going? Oh, boy.
So, Gene, what I was going to say is that it is no coincidence, I think, you've astutely observed, that as Joe Biden as the walls are closed, remember how they always said the walls are closing in on Donald Trump? For years, the favorite metaphor was the walls are closing in on Donald Trump with Russiagate. They never closed in. They are closing in on Joe Biden. Now, the reality is, I think they have two agendas at work, and this is such a demonic agenda that they're not working on their own. I don't think the Democrats are that smart. I think it has to be a demonic level of intelligence at work, which is good news for us, because we can jam that up with intercession. So what they're intending to do is to create a distraction. I mean, my gosh, the same week that this FBI, they have to release this document, which is going to reveal, think about this, that the FBI has been covering up for something they know was a crime. Imagine what that's going to look like. And suddenly, meanwhile, in Utah, a UFO was discovered with body parts from an alien. And like the New York Times gets this from the CIA. It's like, quick, give them the UFO report we got here. Check that out, huh? Forget about this. Small potatoes. I know. We'll indict Donald Trump. That's a good one. That'll get them excited. So they're going to want to try Donald Trump again. They're not done yet. This is going to be hilarious. This would be like them trying to bind Samson. They got one indictment on him. The next one's going to be like right now over the documents at Mar-a-Lago. And the felony they're looking for there is not going to be related to the documents, because he has authority as a president to declassify and have what he wants. It'll be over obstruction of justice. That's why I'm curious what deal they made with Mark Meadows regarding January 6th. Mark my words, we have our prophetic instincts on these things. We believe that they are going to try to, whether they succeed or not will be interesting. They're going to try to connect him to obstruction of justice. They can create a felony. They would like to be able to try him in Washington, just like they want to try him in New York City, because those are the two demonically controlled assets they've got, where the jury will be biased against him and most likely to deliver a criminal verdict. Get what I'm saying? They're going to try to tie him into obstruction. That's why I'm interested in what Mark Meadows was doing when he was meeting with them, because they're going to try, and it's an end run, because I honestly think that nothing Trump did could be misconstrued as inspiring or participating in or encouraging an insurrection with an army of people that had no weapons. So my point is this: they are playing to. But we have to pray for him, because he is a human being, and even the dummies in our group, the Christians that don't like him. They need to recognize he is a human being. And I can tell you this as one of us. They hit you with everything they've got from all directions. And you have to have a remarkable sense of composure, because this is injustice at an intimidating level. They're threatening bankruptcy. They're threatening seizure of his assets. They're threatening putting him in jail. And it's totally wrong. Now, you have a whole history with God and prayer groups and miracles. He doesn't. He just has met evangelicals, and we'll talk to Mike Lindell probably tomorrow morning and get some solace from him. But the reality is we have to pray for him that the peace of God will come upon him and break all the witchcraft, agitation, fear, and anger off of him. Amen. That's our job. And pray that he gets the right counsel, because they're going to hit him, and Fulton, this isn't done yet. Then Fulton, that's why I say it's like Samson. The Philistines are upon you. They're going to bring Fulton County's going to come out with election interference. So they're going to go with a New York case, which is stupid. The document or the obstruction allegation coming right now, and then it's going to be election interference, and none of them will succeed. The likely ultimate place those things will be parked is maybe even at the Supreme Court, challenging whether or not they could do this on the basis they're doing it to a man running for president. And so I wanted the Supreme Court to be involved with the election ripoff, and then I got educated, like all of you, that that's not the civics route. But I did talk to Kelly Shackelford and a couple of Supreme Court attorneys, and I said, what's the likelihood of them, because when you're prophetic, you ask them ahead of time what's going to, and then I already asked them, and they said that they're not going to be able to lock him up, and it's a good probability he could go to the Supreme Court to see if they can even do this.
Wow. As some of you know, and those of you watching on television, you may not know, 2.5 miles from here, as I understand it, is one of the homes, or was one of the homes of Jeffrey Epstein, who was given to him by Les Wexner, correct? Okay. All right, so we all know about Epstein. Well, Epstein's plane, the Lolita Express, was Wexner's plane. I mean, this thing's all messed, and it's 2.5 miles from here. I didn't know any of that. But I knew we were coming here for righteousness and judgment. And I thought, oh, wow, look at this. Judge Judy, we've got a judge. We're going to exercise judgment over what's been going on. Now, we're still going to do that. Judge Janine, did I say Judy? Sorry. Sorry. Judge Judy's the one with the doilies, around her neck. Hey, yeah, don't act like y'all don't watch it. You know what I'm talking about. I don't know where that came from. So here we are talking about this, and so all of a sudden, now, if you watch Nashville, there was a word given to us from Kent Christmas, and it's one that's been prophesied several times about people are coming to you. Well, almost immediately we got a call from Judge Janine about her new book coming out, and then about Jim Caviezel and Tim Ballard. We met with them. Anyway, so these guys, they're coming to FlashPoint. This was a surprise. Oh, wow, this is cool. We're not having to please, oh, please, won't you come? We're not having to do that. And that's because of you guys. Because the word is out about the FlashPoint Army, that they're motivated, they're enabled, and they will do something. They'll do something, or they did something. They're doing something. Divine inspired direction. Divine inspired directive. See, I was listening to sorry, a little conversation with me and Bert. So in the light of this, we get a call. She was on the show last week, or week before last, whenever it was, and she was talking, and she had a great time with, man, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on Friday. She was going to speak for a few minutes tomorrow morning and then sign some books and have to leave. Well, we get a phone call. I get a phone call. Fox News has pulled her. Now, yeah, okay. But here's the thing. This is where I texted Mike later because I felt like, hey, I'm Mike Lindell. Because I didn't think about them canceling Judge Janine. I'm like, this is great. I get to tell everybody what Fox News just did. Look, we're pretty big. They're noticing FlashPoint.
It's a good thing. Shame on you, Fox. Shame on you, Fox.
Now, just so you know, because some people have said, why did you guys cancel Judge? We did not cancel Judge Janine, okay? Fox News told her she couldn't come. Now, this was outside her contract. She was totally legal. We didn't do anything that we shouldn't have done, and she was doing everything by the book. She was going to come in tomorrow and fly out here as soon as she could to be back in New York to do the 5 at 5 o'clock. So what does this happen? And one of the comments that was made to us was, well, you know, you guys in that program, you had Marjorie Taylor Greene on. I went, so you've been watching over a year. This is great news. So you see, it's all how you look at it. Now, I really do wish Judge Janine could have come tomorrow, and I think she's in a very difficult position, and we'll see what she does. And I'll leave that there. But Fox cancels us. Now, here's the part I want you to understand. For many of you in this tent and outside the tent and the overflow and in the building over there and everywhere else around here, for many of you, you felt Fox News was conservative and relatively trustworthy not too long ago. Not too long ago, you thought you were getting the truth. And I can tell you when a lot of it changed, A lot of it changed during the debates with President Trump, and Chris Wallace got up there and everybody went, what happened? I thought you were a good guy. And here you are going the left side of everything. Suddenly America, you guys started looking. And I'm glad you found us. Yeah. So, a lot of what we've talked about is how, people like to say on the news, in the news team, everybody likes to say, oh, we're fair and balanced. We've been unabashed about when we come out. It's why you hear me at the end of most programs say, when I get it right, that we're to the right of center. You won't find us in the center or in the middle. We do have an agenda, and that is, I am a Christo-fascist Christian nationalist, but I am sunny and well coiffed, according to Rolling Stone. So that's why. See, you get it, but do you understand? This is relatively, and even those watching, this is a relatively small amount of Americans that really understand what's going on. Every time I think we're making some headway, gentlemen, I run into a pastor or a businessman that could fund a lot of things or could do stuff, or a pastor that has a mega church, and they're like, hey, that's great what you guys are doing, but yeah, we're not called that. We're called to be, we're just going to preach the word. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not preaching the word. You're not preaching the Bible. And so that's why we have to stand up. And this is what Terry and Brenda were talking about, with those of you shopping. Look, we all know what happened with Target. And we see Target and Kohl's and everybody going. We're going to break this down, and I hope you guys will help me dig into DEI and ESG and what all those things mean and why you need to know about it. But what the biggest thing that you need to remember from all of this is what Kenneth Copeland was teaching decades ago, which was get out of debt, don't own somebody, because it's the banking side of this that's controlling these corporations. Now, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you have a little more money than me.
Took it all.
But here's most businesses, and Gary, you as well, most businesses run on a line of credit. Because if you're selling things, you need to sell, and you're replenishing inventory. Is that correct? Am I right?
Yes.
So most people have a line of credit. Well, what if one day you're doing really great and your bank says, hey, you know what? That $250,000 line of credit that you have every month with us that you've been using for 20 years, we'll continue to do that, but your diversity, equity, and inclusion score must be at least this number, and you're going to have to embrace Pride Month, and we need to see things on your website. Did I accurately portray that? This is what we're dealing with right now. We cannot allow this, but it's going to be uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable. You have to think about where to go eat. You have to think about, I have to make my own coffee. Well, I don't. Terry makes it and I drink it. So, but you see, this is going to where it costs you something. And so our freedom and the truth that we seek and the freedom that we want is going to cost us something that we're going to have to attain. So this is where the rubber is meeting the road, Pastor Hank. But let me before I hand it to you, so I'm making you pay for what Brenda did to me. No, just one more minute. No. See, now I forgot where I was, Lance.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, Gene.
Okay,
you were on a roll for a moment of rare lucidity. You were going somewhere.
Yes, I was. So I want to begin to pull this in because I know Pastor Hank has got something that's going to dovetail off of this. Because I want you to understand why it was so important you heard what Kenneth Copeland said at the beginning of the evening. What this company was, and this is why we have hope. This is why we can have hope. Does it alleviate us from a job to do? No. Are we going to have to stand? Yes. Is it going to be painful sometimes? Yes. However, we can rely on the fact that we do have that covenant in Scripture, And Pastor Hank, George Washington did give us that covenant when he dedicated this land. We have that to rely on. So where do we go from here?
All right. Well, I have Rick Green's notes here. It says bacon double cheeseburger fries. I'm just teasing him. Look, when you put up President, I just want to circle back around because I want to pull a couple things together. So when you put President Trump's, I guess it was a post tonight on Truth Social, how many of you have ever got like an email and somebody's going on and on and on and on and on about something, not that President Trump is, and I always say this to my staff, usually the last thing that is in the letter is the most important. How many of you ever had that, you know? Yeah, somebody says, oh, you know, you're a great person, but by the way, you still owe me such. It's the last thing. Or how many of you ever got a text message and they're going on and on about something, and then the last thing. Did you catch the last thing that President Trump said? Can they put it back up? Page 3 of Trump's thing.
We're waiting.
Look at how quickly I can do this. Look at this. Look at that, Pastor D.
Listen, this is going to be fantastic. This is huge.
All right. We will make America great again. If you didn't believe that, and those of you that are watching around the world, you wouldn't be watching. You wouldn't be here. But this isn't just a campaign slogan. This is something about making America great again that the Spirit of God Himself has been declaring through this ministry years before the slogan came, that there would be a president that would rise up out of New York, born there, that would bring the United States back on course again and make this nation great. This has been God's promise since 9/11, that He's been prophesying this.